Pressure makes diamonds, and there is no place where there is more pressure in tennis than at the Grand Slam tournament. So let's talk about 10 players who will face the most pressure at this year's US Open. Starting off the top 10 is the legend of the sport, Novak Djokovic. Obviously, he has done it all, he is the greatest of all time and all that, but as we all know, and as he has stated it numerous times, right now Novak is playing to get that final Grand Slam title. That triumphant exclamation point on an all-time great career, and with that there is obvious pressure, because if he underperforms, the wait for the next opportunity is long, and at Djokovic's age the significant decline in his playing ability can come out of nowhere. Therefore, his goal of winning the final big one can become more of a pipe dream rather than a genuine possibility. But let's be honest, it's not like this is a make or break thing for Novak, which is why he is low on the list. Now let's switch gears to the WTA, because in ninth it's Karolina Muhova. This has been an injury-riddled season for Karolina. Unfortunately, it is not anything new or unexpected, but even through all the setbacks she still has maintained a solid ranking. But it all can change after this year's US Open. In 2024 she reached the semi-final here, which means that she has to defend a lot of points. 720 to be specific. Thankfully for her, even in the worst case scenario, the drop off in the rankings won't be that significant, but still, it hurts my soul seeing her outside of the top 10 when the talent is clearly there. So I do still think that Muhova has to perform well at this US Open to show that the belief in her potential is warranted. In 8th, I have Stephanos Tsitsipas. Not to rub salt into the wounds, but Stephanos has been simply terrible this year. The trajectory of his career has been going downwards. Whether it's his own fault or circumstances out of his control, it doesn't matter at this point. What matters is that he has an opportunity to get himself back on track by being at least solid at the last Grand Slam of the year. I'm not asking of him to reach the semis or something crazy like that, but there is that dire need to get at least close to reaching the second week of the major to remind himself that he knows how to play tennis. So there is undeniable pressure on him to leave New York with his head held up high and without people wondering what the hell has happened to Stefanos Tsitsipas. Next up is a guy in a completely different situation. It's Alexander Bublik. Unlike Steph, Sasha is on a run of his life. Quarterfinals at the French Open, win over Jannik Sinner, titles in Gstaad and Piggul. The man was on fire, and then he decided to sit out basically the whole US swing. So now he has to put himself in a difficult situation. First, he needs to show that the decision to skip the lead-up tournament to the major was the correct one. And secondly, he has to back up his run of form. He wasn't able to do that at Wimbledon after Halep title, so there is pressure on him to perform well at the US Open. Cause if he doesn't, he reverts back to being that guy who has the potential but never backs it up, and all the talk of him being an actual contender for the titles or a threat to the big boys at the big tournaments will be rendered meaningless. Now let's get back to the WTA. In 6th, it's Naomi Osaka. Even though she was the runner-up in Montreal, the final left everyone with a bad taste in their mouths. The salty loser behavior and the disappointing effort shown by her when the times got tough in the final is still fresh on everyone's mind. With that being said, the whole tournament apart from those 2 sets in the final was great and seemingly a step in the right direction. Therefore, people are expecting at least a solid showing at the tournament where she won her first major trophy. Now Naomi has haters ready to talk their ish if she doesn't perform, but at the same time her fans believe in her and are ready to support her all the way. Basically, Osaka is in a limbo where people from both sides will care about her result, which is why she's under a lot of pressure coming into the US Open. Next entry on this list is strictly results based, because in 5th I have Jessica Pegula. This year's North American swing has been a far cry from the one that we saw last season from the world number 4. In comparison to last year's title in Canada and final in Cincy, 2025's 2 third-round exits look abysmal. And to add to that, Jessica has to back up her 2024 finals run in New York. It just doesn't look good for her. Nothing makes me feel like she can play well enough to get that far in the tourney, and the fact that players close to her level are in solid form builds up the pressure even more. Just outside of the top 3, it's Frances Tiafoe, I am aware that the most of the tennis world do not view Francis as a real contender for the title in New York. But ever since that incredible run in 2022, he has built up that aura of someone who always delivers at the US Open. Celebrities will be watching and expecting greatness from the two-time semi-finalist at the US Open. American media will big him up, the casual fans will get behind him. And he himself has said that the US Open is a tournament where people should expect great results from the man who claimed Arthur Ashe Stadium as his house. Pressure on Tiafoe is immense, and anything less than a quarterfinal will be considered a failure for the DMV native. Starting off the top three is the man who is fighting to stay at the top of the tennis game is Daniil Medvedev. It's very simple, if Daniil underperforms, there is no reason to consider him as one of the best players in the world anymore. He has been proving that the whole season, to be honest, but this could be a cherry on top of the shit cake that Medvedev has been baking the whole 2025 season. Clearly, Daniil is not that guy anymore, but a good result in New York can prolong his stay as a force to be reckoned with in the future. 2023's champion Coco Gauff will have to deal with a lot of pressure for the 2 weeks of the US Open. The post-French Open results haven't been good, to say the least. Not to be too harsh on the two-time Grand Slam champion, but her tennis in this time period has been borderline unwatchable. 50 plus unforced error and 10 plus double fault matches are becoming a norm for the American, and you don't have to be a genius to understand that it's a recipe for disaster. She needs to get her shit together in order to even hope for a positive result in New York. After the disappointment of 2024, Coco needs to deliver, because if she doesn't, the American and the worldwide media will simply eat her alive. And the player with the most pressure at this year's US Open is Aryna Sabalenka. The reasoning again is very simple. She's the clear-cut #1 in the rankings. She has won the most amount of matches this season. She is the best hardcourt player in the world, and still she's missing that Grand Slam title this season. To add to that, she's the defending champion, which makes this a huge pressure cocktail for the world #1. Do you agree that these are the players under the most pressure for this US Open? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, take it easy, my friend.